Afternoon, people. What is good? I hope everyone's had a good weekend. I hope for those who are Spurs fans watching this, I hope that Spurs did not ruin your weekend too much. I hope that this season just finishes, to be honest. I really hope that this season can just finish already, because I'm sick to death of talking about the same thing every season. I mean, every week, every day, every match day. I'm tired of talking about it. I'm tired of talking about how bad we are, how poor we are defensively, right? I'm tired. I'm absolutely tired. I literally have bags in my eyes speaking about this team, man. It's the worst. It's the worst. But people, anyway, thanks for tuning in. Make sure you smash the like button as well. Make sure you smash the subscribe button as well. Let's get it to as many likes as possible before this video ends. Make sure your post notifications are turned on, right? I won't admit it, man. I'm as hard as it is for me. I'm slowly starting to sort of detach myself from Spurs ruining my weekend. Like slowly, I'm not perfect. I still watch the games, right? But slowly, I'm trying to detach myself, because from what I can see on the football pitch, from what I can see in our squad, our hierarchy, it's going to take a long time for this team to get back to a side that I can actually enjoy watching. It's just a simple reality. Unless the people who have made all the poor decisions in recent years make the right decisions this summer, we have to be realistic. It's going to take a while, or at the very least, we have to acknowledge that this season, this has been a season from hell. This has been a diabolical campaign. Diabolical. Tottenham have lost 14 Premier League matches this season. 14 Premier League matches this season we have lost. Let me even show you the table to show you how mad that is, right? We've lost 14 Premier League matches. We have lost the second highest amount of games in the top 10. We've lost more games than Aston Villa. We've lost more games than Brighton. We've lost more games than Liverpool. How bad have they been this season? Right? We've lost more games than Brentford. We've lost as many games as Chelsea. Yeah? It's pathetic. It's utterly pathetic. It is pathetic. It's shambolic, and it honestly is only the tip of the iceberg when we're talking about how bad this season has been for Tottenham. In my recent streams, right, I've spoken about how bad our defense is, etc., etc. We are now on 62 goals conceded. So we are on course. We're on course to match potentially our highest tally. I think our highest tally of goals conceded in the Premier League campaign was 66. I did a calculation like probably 2 or 3 weeks ago to say that based off the amount of goals we're conceding per game, Spurs are on course to hit 64 goals conceded. So we have one game left. We're on 62. We play Leeds next, who are fighting for their lives. Could you bet your money on Spurs keeping a clean sheet against Leeds? I couldn't. If anything, I would bet money on Spurs losing that game next week. I'll bet money on it. They're just a shambolic side. Like my video, the title of my stream speaks for itself. To lose to Brentford at home in your last home game of the season without their 20-goal striker. Yeah? 20-goal striker. Ivan Toney is suspended for 8 months. Brentford has scored 57 league goals. Ivan Toney scored 20 out of 57. Almost half their goals this guy scored. Almost half. And he didn't play. And now, I know, football doesn't work like that. Brentford aren't just going to stand still just because Ivan Toney isn't playing, right? It means that other players will step up, as is always the case with some of these other teams. No matter how poor the drop-off is, someone will have to step up. The team has to change their way of playing. But the point I'm making is this. It makes them invariably weaker. It makes them weaker as a side. If they don't have their talismanic striker up top, it makes them weaker as a side, which makes it, in theory, a more straightforward game for you, right? It is much easier to deal with someone like a Johan Wissa than it is to deal with Ivan Toney. And you've lost. Not only did you lose, you were well beaten, 3-1. Emphatic victory for Brentford. And props to them, man. Props to them. Although I don't think they did anything spectacular in the second half. I just think I put it more on Spurs, just being Spurs. But props to Brentford because they capitalized. They capitalized. They pressed us well in the second half. They scored their goals. The second goal was a really, really well worked goal, and even the first goal was well worked, to be honest. But I'll talk about all of these things. And I mean, the third goal, just an utter shambles. But again, you have to capitalize, and they did. So props to Brentford. Full value for the win. If you don't take your chances, you don't win. If you don't defend well, you don't win. It's that simple. It is that simple. I was having a conversation with a couple of my mates in the chat when we were 1-0 up and we were playing some decent stuff in the first half. And I'll get on the first half. My friend Sam Abaseki, he said to me, Tobs, Spurs look decent here. You might not need, it might not be that bad. 2 or 3 players, and you could actually be a good side again. And I said to him, we probably need 3 or 4 players to look much better, right, as a side. But in terms of what we need to actually be good end to end, oh Lord, we need about 6, 7, 8 players before Spurs, in my opinion, can say they're a good side. Either that or we need an extraordinary manager who is able to somehow mask our deficiencies. Because this team, they're awful, man. They are awful. And it's a shame as well because I looked into this season with such optimism. Like I said, it's been a season from hell. It's been a season from hell. I could not have envisioned the season ending the way it has done. I could not have envisioned Conte being as terrible as he has been. I could not have envisioned Son being as bad as he's been. Basuma not having to play enough games. And when he did play, he just wasn't good enough. Højbjerg being this diabolical. Bentancur being ruled out for the season. I did not foresee these things. Even Harry Kane, 28 goals. Fantastic. But I could not foresee how poor Harry Kane's link-up would be in a lot of our matches this season. I could not foresee how bad Kulusevski would be in the second half of the campaign because he has been utterly pathetic. He played all right yesterday, but his second half of the campaign has been diabolical. He's been awful. I did not foresee Richarlison scoring 1 Premier League goal. Like so much crap has been put through our face this season as fans. So much rubbish. Like how much rubbish are we meant to take? How many times are we meant to be embarrassed by this team? I heard yesterday as well at the game. At full time when the players were doing the lap of honor and stuff. The Spurs comms team were belting out the music to drown out the boos. That's what it's come to. Every single thing about this club, damage control. They're never proactive to make the club good. All they're doing is damage control. It was damage control with the Nagelsmann stuff. And now it's damage control with fans. Trying to shush the fans. Shh. Don't make it too known how bad the season's been. Shh, keep it down. Keep it down. Let's pretend as if there's something to be happy about this season. Shh. Don't boo. Don't boo. Utterly pathetic. Disgrace. I don't even know what the attendance was for yesterday's game. But I wouldn't be shocked if the attendance was incredibly low for the women's game after, because they were encouraging people to stay for the women's game. Why would they stay? Why would they stay? Genuinely, why would they stay? Pathetic. But anyway, people, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button as well. Aiming to get to 14K. I don't know, I've been stuck on 13K for a minute. I think it's just, I need to be more consistent with this thing. But yeah, smash the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. keep your post notifications turned on. I promise next season I will try and be a lot more organized in my streams. I'll give people advance notice. I'll have actual scheduled streams, and it won't be streams all the time. It will actually be videos as well, because the streaming thing it confines your schedule, man. But yeah, now let's actually try and dissect yesterday, talk about Onslaught, talk about Ryan Mason. I want to talk about everything. Right? Apologies as well. I didn't do a preview for this Brentford video. I was busy week for me last week. Yeah, so just didn't get around to doing it. But let's talk, man, because I obviously, you know me, I've got my notes. We're 10 minutes in, right? Let me try and blitz through this as quickly as possible. So the Brentford game for me was a reverse of the usual pattern we've seen from Tottenham this season, because usually we are god awful in the first half and we're better in the second half. This game was the opposite. We were actually bright in the first half. We were decent in the first half, and we were terrible in the second half. Completely terrible. Literally the opposite to what we showed in the first half. Absolutely horrific. Absolutely horrific second half, right? First half, the team were good. Obviously, the shape. Listen, Ryan Mason has tinkered with this team. He's played a 4-4-2. He's played a 3-4-3. He's played a 3-5-2. Yesterday, he played a 4-2-3-1. Fair enough, tinker. It was decent to see Kulusevski in the 10, because I think that's an option that a lot of Spurs fans have wanted to see, right? When we're talking about Spurs switching to a back four side and trying to fit as many attackers on the pitch, it's an option that Spurs fans some Spurs fans have wanted to see. But that's as far as it goes for me when it comes to giving Ryan Mason any sort of credit in this game, and any sort of credit in his second interim stint. And I'll get onto Ryan Mason in a second. It's not a Mason witch hunt. I've already given him plaudits where I can for stepping into such a job. This is not an easy job, especially in the mess that we've inherited. I even rate some of his confidence in his abilities, right? Yeah. I like the fact that he has tried to make Spurs more attacking, right? Giving players like Basuma starts, Danjuma a start. But again, my credit for you is capped, because fundamentally you are not a manager. You're not a manager. You're just not good enough. But I'm mature on Ryan Mason for now. Let me talk about the game. So yeah, 4-2-3-1 shape. Kulusevski in the 10, Kane up top, Son left, Danjuma getting his first ever start for Spurs on the right. Basuma starting in the midfield, which was good. Højbjerg injured. Blessing in disguise, I would say, because we got to see what we were missing with Basuma in the first half. Maybe not in the second half, for sure, because I think he wasn't good in the second half, and neither was Skip. But first half, we got to see what we were missing with Basuma, right? Wanting the ball all the time, playing with bravery, winning his duels defensively, like putting a lot of pressure on Brentford. I felt like the first half was, it was decent stuff, man. We created chances. Son had an opportunity. Emerson had an opportunity. Obviously, Harry Kane scoring a fantastic goal, 28th Premier League goal this season. He's now scored in 25 different Premier League matches this season, which is now the outright record for any goal scorer in the league, right? And there's that age-old debate of goals scored versus how many games are you scoring these goals in, the spread of goals. So for me, I'm in the middle. Like, I value a striker who's able to be consistent across a multitude of games, but I also value an attacker who can plunder goals. When they smell blood, they score as many as possible. And I think Harry Kane gives you a blend of both, right? So props to him for that. If that is his last game in the Spurs shirt, it was a hell of a strike for him to go out on. Fantastic strike. Of all the free kicks that this guy has botched in his Tottenham career, decent, I say decent, bog standard layoff from Kulusevski, but the strike on that ball, it was pure. That was, when we talk about pure strikes, that was a pure strike of the ball. And he's absolutely buried Raya. So good strike from Harry Kane. And he was good in the first half. A lot of men could say they were, well, probably I'd say a couple of men could say they were playing well in the first half. I felt Basuma, stand out, played well. Kane played well. I felt Kulusevski looked good, combining well with Son at times. Danjuma looked all right in the first half as well. He was coming to life on the right-hand side. Emerson looked decent as well. But that's where my credit for this team ends. That's where my credit for this team ends, right? Because we created enough chances in the first half to be 2-0 up. We didn't take those chances, right? We are a side who you can never really take, you can never really judge by spells. I don't judge Spurs by what they do in 30 minutes. I judge Spurs by what they do across the 90. So it's all good and well saying Spurs look good for 45 minutes, but that doesn't matter if you don't do well enough over 90 minutes, because more often than not, playing good for 45 minutes out of a 90-minute game won't win you football matches. And the evidence was staring at Spurs yet again yesterday. When people were talking about how good we were playing the first half, yeah, it was bright, but I said, I'm not fooled. I'm not fooled by this. I'm not fooled by this. This doesn't mean that I automatically think that a lot of these players are good enough. Oh, keep Sanchez. Oh, keep Longley. Oh, I'll get onto Longley. They're just not good enough as a team. They're just not good enough. They're not good enough as a team. And the manager is not a manager. He's a coach, a rookie coach, doing Tottenham a favour. He ain't got it. He ain't got it. And we're just a bad side. We're a really bad football team. Really bad football team. We've got some good players. That's absolutely. We have got some good players, and I've spoken on that. And I actually think if Spurs were to get a really good manager who's willing to work with the players we have, there are players that a good manager can work with. But that doesn't change the fact that there are several players that a manager would have to get rid of. And I'll talk on this when I get to Slot, because I've been reading some articles on Slot recently, right? And how he sets up, etc., what type of teams he has, and so on and so forth. But the second half of the game, man, I mean, if you ever needed a reminder of what Tottenham Hotspur are as a football club this season, just watch that second half. Just watch that second half. Ben Davies has actually been one of our better defenders this season. And he's not good enough to be starting week in, week out. So what does that tell you about our team? What does that tell you? I'm not even trying to turn it into a Ben Davies witch hunt, right? Because I think he's actually defended well for the most part this season. But he's god-awful on the ball in the final third. And he simply is not good enough to be starting week in, week out for Spurs. The fact that Ben Davies is having to play week in, week out for Tottenham is an indictment of our team. It doesn't speak well for him. It's an indictment on our team. The fact that Longley is starting games at left centre-back, it's an indictment on our team. Indictment. Sorry, let me take up my gum. That's rude of me. The second half, I mean, it was like watching a completely different side, as has been the case throughout the season. The first goal, I have no idea where our midfield is. I think Kulusevski was really poor in losing the ball. He turns over the ball. Brentford get a throw-in. Damsgaard is in acres of space in the middle of the park. I understand that in football, when the opposition gets a throw-in, usually teams shift to that side of the pitch to try and contain the opposition players so they can't get out. But in the process of Spurs doing that, they left Damsgaard completely free. Where was our midfield? Where was Skip and Basuma? Where was our midfield? acres of space to bring the ball down, take a touch, pass it to Wissa. Wissa skips past flat-footed Longley. I don't care how good Longley is on the ball. I have only viewed Longley as a stopgap. And you know what? I'll talk on Longley after I describe the goals and how bad they were. But just flat-footed, Wissa obviously beats Longley for pace and gets to the ball first, because Longley is so slow and flat-footed, and spreads the ball to Mbeumo. Mbeumo is left-footed. He's on the right-hand side. What is he trying to do on that side? When Kulusevski is on the opposition in the opposition's final third and teams marshal him well, what are they doing? They're stopping him from coming in on his left foot, which is the foot he wants to come in on, to either make an angle for a shot or to get the ball into an attacker on his left peg, on his strongest foot. Now, Mbeumo is left-footed. He obviously wants to come inside on his left foot, pause, and shoots. Ben Davies says, here you are, mate. There you go. Go inside on your left foot and shoot. There you go. 1-1. Bang. And they're growing in confidence. And the second goal, pathetic from Harry Kane, if you ask me. Pathetic. I don't care what anyone tells me. Oh, it's a foul. I don't care. It was pathetic from Harry Kane. You have to be stronger in those positions. Hold the ball up. That's your forte. You have to be stronger. Going to ground, begging for fouls. Get up. You've got to be stronger. But no, goes to ground looking for the foul. Of course it's not a foul. The ref plays on. Poor from Harry Kane. But there's still a lot of football to be played before Brentford can score. Right? I think it was Aaron Hickey who gave the pass. Ben Davies, you can see Mbeumo on your left shoulder. You can see Mbeumo on your left shoulder. Longley, you can see the danger. If the left back can't cover, the left centre back should be there to cover. I remember Spurs played Olympiacos years back, and Ben Davies got done like that at left back through Podence. Podence was torching this guy all game, and Podence literally scored a goal just like that. On his left shoulder, not sensing danger, bang, in behind, goal. And it was just a mess. Longley and Davies. It's honestly a horrible combination. Yeah? And it's like both guys have different weaknesses. Longley's weaknesses, he simply is not good enough defensively. He's a good passer of the ball. Yeah. I think he's brave with the ball. He comes out, tries to play, tries to make probing passes, decent switch on him. But ask this guy to defend, and for the most part, it's not good enough. Granted, he was defending well, in my opinion, in the first half of the season. I think it was the Newcastle game where he was really bad. But the first half of the campaign, for someone who I actually don't rate at all defensively, he surprised me. It was a pleasant surprise. Oh, you're actually defending okay. Second half of the campaign, he's been diabolical. Much of what I saw at Barcelona, he's been diabolical. And simply put, he is not good enough to be in this back line. He's not good enough. I don't care how good he is on the ball. He's not good enough as a defender. He's so slow. He's so flat-footed. His anticipation of danger is poor. You cannot play this guy in a high line. If Spurs want to progress, if Spurs want to be this ball-dominant team, this aggressive side that want to press high from the front, you can't play guys like Davies and Longley in your back line. You just can't do it. They will get destroyed. They'll get destroyed. It's that simple. They'll get ripped to shreds just like they were yesterday. They're not good enough. Ben Davies he's awful for the most part, attacking wise. He'll have a couple decent progressive passes, but for the most part, he is bad on the ball. But the one thing you're meant to be decent at defending, you were just terrible yesterday. These man, they're just not good enough, man. They're just not good enough. And there's all this talk on Longley. Oh, that I think it was Mason that was saying that Spurs are gonna have conversations to sign him in the summer. For what? For what? Why are we having these conversations about? There's two things here that are wrong. For starters, why are we trying to keep Longley if the aim of what we're trying to do over the next 2 seasons is become a more aggressive team without the ball, to play a game where the defense is going to be placed higher up the pitch? Why are we trying to sign Longley? Right? This guy is going to be turning 29 years old. This guy is not wanted by Barcelona. This guy is not good enough defensively. This guy may not be wanted by the next manager. Why are there conversations about keeping him in the summer? Why? Ben Davies, next season, if this guy isn't sold, then at the very most, he has to be a squad player. With keeping someone like Ben Davies, I don't want to keep him. But if he was to be kept, I can just about accept squaddy. I cannot see this guy starting regularly for Spurs next year. I don't want to see it. If I had it my way, I would sell the lot. I would sell the lot. Get rid of all of them. But that's not realistic with Spurs. I don't care what anyone tells me. That's not realistic with Spurs. Longley is not good enough for Spurs. I don't care that he's going to cost 12 million euros. Oh, people telling me, oh my God, it's not bad for a squad option. It's not bad for a squad option. Third, fourth, no. How many of these players are we going to accept? How many? I'm sick to death of it. Oh no, let's have him as a squaddie. Why? How many starting caliber centre-backs do we have? Why should we then buy more squad players? Why? Fans trying to justify it to me on socials when I'm saying no to this signing. Why? He's not good enough. He's not good enough. The facts of the matter are he's not good enough. He's not good enough to play for any team that are trying to play an aggressive style in the Premier League. No one else in the top 6 would look at signing this guy permanently. No one else. Nobody else but Tottenham. The same club that are trying to give Eric Dyer a new contract. How many flipping squad players do you want? He's starting for Tottenham. So clearly, he's not just going to be a squad player. He is literally starting games for Tottenham. Eric Dyer has started games for Tottenham this season. Ben Davies, he's starting games for Tottenham this season. How many? Sanchez, his first start since, I can't even remember, since Bournemouth. I don't even know. Look at our centre-back options. Sanchez, Longley, right now this season. Sanchez, Longley, Dyer, Romero, Ben Davies for all intents and purposes because he played in the back 3. And then the one we've got out on Tanganga, 6. And then Joe Rodon on loan, 7. We've got 7 centre-back options and only one of them is good enough for me to actually play consistently for Spurs. But you want to make our squad building harder by signing a depreciating asset who is not going to be good value for money in the long run. Why? Oh, looking for the cheap option. Last summer, we were told that Longley was a stopgap. Oh, he's the stopgap with a view for Spurs to still sign that top centre-back in the window. We can't do it all in one summer. Okay, cool, fine. You can't. But we needed a top centre-back last summer. We didn't sign one. So that was a huge disappointment. After telling us all summer that Spurs are in the market for 2 young, dynamic, good centre-backs, we only signed Longley. And then when we signed him, the excuse was, oh no, we're bringing him in to cover left centre-back and centre-back, but we're still going to bring in a top centre-back to start. They didn't bring him. They didn't bring one in. They kept Tanganga. Embarrassment. January, you didn't bring one in. Now summer, when you're telling us again that Spurs are looking to sign 2 centre-backs, why is the talk that one of them is the guy that was signed in to be a stopgap, but ultimately is not good enough? Why? Why? Absolutely embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing. And the thing is, people can talk about Romero. People can talk about Romero. Oh, why are you so... Romero is a good centre-back. He's had a shit season. But use eyes. Just use eyes. Take agenda, take bias, take every sort of agenda out of it and use your eyes. He's the only centre-back, alongside maybe Longley, that can play with the ball under pressure. He's the only centre-back that can actually defend in the high line, that is aggressive, that is willing to press, that is as mobile as we need centre-backs to be. Yes, he's had a bad campaign, but it is clear to see that when you compare his characteristics to the other centre-backs that we have, it's not even a contest. It is not even a contest. So as far as I'm concerned, he is the only one of all our centre-back options I'm comfortable moving forward with as a starting centre-back for Spurs. And even then, Spurs need two, not one, two good, young, hungry, dynamic, aggressive, front-footed, competent defenders. One to play alongside him and one to actually compete with him and push him out of the starting lineup when he's poor. But no, we're looking in the market for Longley. We're trying to give Dyer a 3-year contract. Embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing. Shambolic club. Shambolic club, honestly, man. And they got what they deserved yesterday, man. They got what they deserved. The third goal, I mean, oh, good old Skippy. Ollie Skip, Ollie Skip. Nah. Good old Skippy. Listen, I like Skip. Sue me, I like Skip. I don't think the guy's a bad player. I've always maintained, I think there's a place for him in this squad. But that place is not as a starter. Someone put out a tweet or photo of someone's Facebook comment yesterday. And they said that if Oliver Skip is a regular starter at Spurs next season, something has gone horribly wrong. And I agree. I agree. This isn't a Skip hating session. It's not. It is calling the facts as they are. He was culpable for that third goal. Terrible. If that was Højbjerg that did that, there'd be pelters. If that was Basuma that did that, there'd be pelters. We're treating Skip just as we would our other midfielders because he's what? He's going to be 23 years old. He's not a kid anymore. He's not old, but he's not a kid either. You have to be better in those situations. You have to sense the danger around you. Faffing about with it in and around our box, and they steal the ball off you and they score. Poor. And I'll tell you what, Oliver Skip, he came into the team in a tough period and he did relatively well. But his limitations are clear. And in recent weeks, his drop-off in form outside of the Liverpool game has been visible. But it's understandable because, like I said, he's not good enough to be starting for Spurs week in, week out. If you want to be a top 6 club, you cannot have Skip playing the lion's share of minutes. You're just not going to progress as much as you want to. Skip is a player that you can come in, you can bring into the team in the last 20, 30 minutes of the game to shore up the team. You can bring in rotation for some European matches, even for some Premier League matches, you bring him in rotation. He's a rotational piece. He's a rotational piece. He's not a mainstay. And whilst I understand that we have had injuries, Bentancur's been injured since February. Even Højbjerg, who's played every minute, was injured yesterday. Right? Skip does not have to play every painstaking minute. You have Sarr on the bench. Okay, great. He's not amazing, but you have options. And this issue is not just specific to Skip. It's with managers and their treatment of our midfielders. It shouldn't be a case where where two midfielders are playing the lion's share of minutes and the other guys are getting dog crap minutes, and then when you bring him in, they're cold. The same argument I made for Oliver Skip many months back is the same argument I'm making for Sarr. Right? But fundamentally, Skip, poor mistake. Doesn't make you a bad player. Doesn't make you a bad player in my eyes. But that was a bad mistake. And you have to do better. And Tottenham have to do better at getting in players that are better than the likes of Oliver Skipp, than the likes of Højbjerg. They have to. They absolutely have to. It's just not good enough. It's just not good enough at all. Sorry as well. Let me go through some comments. I'll big up for the super chat. He says, your top 3 priorities for the summer. Defense. New goalkeeper. 2 centre-backs. They are non-negotiables for me this summer. If Spurs sign 4 players, 3 of those players have to be a new goalkeeper and 2 strong, commanding centre-backs that are actually competent on the ball. It's non-negotiable at this point. It's non-negotiable. With the right back, the situation is a situation. I think Spurs can get through a season with a combination of Porro, Emerson Royale, and Jet Spence if necessary. Although I think you're probably better served sending Jet Spence out on loan because it makes more sense to share the minutes between Emerson and Porro. I don't want Emerson at this club, but at this moment in time, he is one of the few players in the team, unfortunately for us, that is competent defensively in absence of his shocking play going forward. And Pedro Porro is the opposite. Really looks really good going forward, but really bad defensively. So next season, you can make something with that right back spot. Left back, you have Destiny Udogie coming in. Maybe you might want to keep Reguilon as backup. Maybe you might want to keep Ben Davies as an auxiliary left back / centre back backup, right? But what is paramount for this team is we get 2 new centre backs and we get a goalkeeper, a good goalkeeper. That's non-negotiable. And then after that, we need to sign a midfielder. Paramount. We need to sign a midfielder. Even if Harry Kane was to leave this summer and we didn't bring in a new striker like for like, right? Spurs need to sign a new midfielder, whether it's a 10 or an 8.5 that plays more advanced up the pitch, or whether it's a 6 or an 8 that's a dictator. Spurs need a new midfielder who is passing adequate. In fact, not even adequate, who is a pass master, someone who isn't afraid to play with the ball under pressure and to break lines with their passing. Right? That is exactly what we need. So those are my 3-4 priorities this summer. They're the non-negotiables for me. And then you have to look at the Harry Kane situation. If Harry Kane does leave, then you have to bring in an attacker. Whether it's a like-for-like replacement, whether he's playing out wide, Spurs simply have to bring in an attacker. But Spurs probably need to bring in 2 players. In fact, Spurs definitely need to bring in 2 players if Harry Kane leaves. However, irrespective of how the summer goes, 2 centre-backs, a goalkeeper, and a top passing caliber midfielder is of the utmost importance for Tottenham. Because I'm sick to death of seeing this team that can't play higher up the pitch, that can't break lines with their pass, that can't defend well. I'm sick of it. Absolutely sick of it. It's got to be done. And then the Harry Kane bridge, you cross that bridge when it comes. If he does leave, then it goes without saying, you absolutely have to bring in an attacker. Yes, Spurs will obviously have to try and change the way they're playing. Yes. But you can't lose Harry Kane's goals and bring nobody in. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. Let's talk on Ryan Mason and Onslaught. In fact, let's talk on Mason first, because there was something that happened in that game that just emphasized for me why this club will never prosper. Yeah. Spurs are 2-1 down. Spurs are 2-1 down in the game. And Ryan Mason has Pedro Porro on the bench and Richarlison on the bench. Listen, Richarlison has been dog shit. Another one. Rubbish. Absolutely rubbish. Horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. He's made me sick this season. Made me sick. Shocking return. Absolutely shocking. Without a doubt, one of the, if not the biggest flop this season. Without a doubt. But Mason has him on the bench and he has Pedro Porro on the bench to change the game at 2-1 down. Those players eventually came on in the end, but guess who came on before them? Guess. He brought on Lucas Moura. Obviously, everyone's seen the interviews. I've not watched Lucas Moura's interview. Apparently, it was touching. It was emotional. I don't care. I don't care. He brought on Lucas Moura, right? Lucas Moura has not scored a Premier League goal this season. In fact, Lucas Moura has appeared for Tottenham 48 times across this season and last season. And in those games, this guy has scored 2 Premier League goals. 2. I can't name you a game that this guy has come on and affected positively in probably about a year. I couldn't name you a single game this guy has started or come on in and contributed positively to the team. I couldn't. And Ryan Mason decided to bring this guy on for what? For what? Sentiment. For what? It can't be because he's scoring goals. It can't be because he's creating goals. It can't be because he's getting the team further up the pitch. It can't be for any of these things because we've not seen them. So what was the reason? Sentiment. Sentiment FC. It's the reason why Eric Dyer will get a new contract. It's the reason why Sessegnon will get a new contract. It's the reason why someone like Ryan Mason even has the audacity to think that he's ready for this job. And it's the reason why Lucas Moura steps on the football pitch. This guy who has cost Spurs goals. He's not even creating goals for Tottenham. He's creating goals against Tottenham. He's coming on and he is a net negative on us in the football club. But because this is his last ever appearance at home, he has to come on at 2-1 down. Why? You need to win the game of football. So are we saying Lucas Moura getting a good send-off is now more important than winning the game of football? Really? And when I say this, I don't say this to say that Lucas Moura is the reason we lost the game. We were 2-1 down when he came on. He's not the reason we lost the game. I'm simply talking about this club and sentiment. And I'm talking about Ryan Mason as a coach. This is not the first time I've spoken about how bad his subs have been in games. This is not the second time I've spoken about it. And why am I speaking about it? It stems from inexperience. An experienced manager will do what it takes to win. They don't care about sentiment. They'll do what it takes to win, to turn the game around. Liverpool said goodbye to Bobby Firmino yesterday. It was his last ever home match as well, right? 2 Brazilians came on the football pitch for their respective clubs yesterday in front of their home crowd for the last time. Bobby Firmino came on and scored for Liverpool. He got the equaliser. Bobby Firmino has 10 Premier League goals in 24 appearances. That's what you call impact. You want to know what Lucas Moura's impact yesterday was? Let me show you the stats. Yep. And people say, oh, Tobs, you're being harsh. I'm not being harsh. This guy's he's just not good enough. There are some players that should never kick a ball again for Spurs, and he's one of them. Don't care about Amsterdam. Thank you for the memories. But bro, you're just not good enough. Right? You're just not good enough. But that isn't the only thing with Mason as well. So now, right under Ryan Mason, when I say these things, I don't say them I don't take any pleasure in this. I don't take any pleasure in saying Ryan Mason isn't good enough for Spurs. I'm just calling it as I see it. He's just not good enough for Tottenham. And it's not even his fault. Because I'm going to get onto Arne Slot next. It's not even Ryan Mason's fault because ultimately, Ryan Mason is working with a squad that is just broken. A mismatch of profiles, a mismatch of quality. It's just bad. Players who are mentally weak and are just done. They've given up for this season. It's over. It's done. Finito. Right? Finito. This team needs an overhaul. Right? I think 4 players into the starting 11 definitely gives Spurs a different 4 players into the starting 11 and a coach who's actually willing to work with the players that we have that can offer something makes the team look like a much better proposition. But Spurs need a whole lot more than that to actually be a really good side end to end. We do. We do. Desperately, we do. And that takes me on to Arne Slot. So, from what I've read about Slot, he seems like a sensible, potentially sensible appointment. Potentially, right? I would be lying if I said I didn't have my reservations on the Eredivisie. I would be lying because I do. I have my concerns about that league. I really do. But from what I'm reading, this guy seems a good coach. He seems a good coach. And he's very much an outlier in terms of his achievements. And what I mean by that is the fact that he has delivered Feyenoord their second ever title in like 20-something years or something like that, right? He took over the job last season, and within 2 seasons, he's won them a title ahead of the likes of Ajax and PSV. You have to give him credit for that. No matter how weak the league is, I can't ignore that. That is a really good achievement for him. And then when I read into his playing style as well, let me even bring up this article. Let me bring up this article. Okay. Because I sent it to my mates in a group chat. Where is it? Yeah, but from what I'm reading about this guy, yeah, like there are things that I like, but then there are things that you just look at and you're like, yeah, like how's this going to work with Spurs? So for starters, his preferred formation is a 4-2-3-1. Now I'm looking for this article. His preferred formation is a 4-2-3-1, right? It's what he's played predominantly for Feyenoord, and I think occasionally he's switched to a 4-3-3. He plays with inverted fullbacks. I think it's right. His right back is the one who inverts. He attacks in a similar fashion to Liverpool, right? To Liverpool of old, where I think he attacks in like a 2-3-5 shape. And what I mean by that is he attacks with his front three, and he also attacks with his fullbacks, right? And I think he likes to get his wingers 1v1 with the opposition's fullbacks. He plays a very aggressive style, so his teams press high. They press high, very high, and they build up from the back. So there's 2 centre-backs split, right? And he wants his goalkeeper to basically act as an outfield player, as do most of these top sides now, as do your Man Cities, as do your Liverpools. Even Arsenal, you've seen them. They've been the second best team in the league this season. That's how they've played. That's how the top sides play, right? Now, immediately, I'm seeing alarm bells. Because now I'm starting to realize, irrespective of who is our manager, whether it's Slot, whether it's Enrique, whether it's Nagelsmann, whoever the manager is, we're going to need to really, really make a concerted effort to reshape this team. Yeah? We're going to have to make a real concerted effort to reshape this team simply because the profiles we have in this team will be difficult for any good manager to implement a high and aggressive pressing style and an intense approach. It's going to be difficult. It is going to be difficult, right? Spurs don't have a goalkeeper who can do that right now. Spurs don't have enough centre-backs who can play out with the ball under pressure. Spurs don't have the right blend of attackers right now, or better yet, Spurs haven't coached a high pressing game. Spurs don't have enough, notice I said enough midfielders who can pass this ball under pressure with ease constantly into the final third. Spurs don't have that. Yeah. I think we only have, how many of our fullbacks invert? I think Emerson Royale is the only fullback we have that has been capable enough to, I say capable, that has been inverting to a decent enough standard this season. And even then, it's a pinch of salt because it's Emerson. Right? So there are a lot of good things to like about Onslaught. But naturally, he's going to need Spurs to bring in some proper reinforcements. He's going to, because we have to be blunt. I don't think he's going to be able to play the way he wants to play with this current crop of players. He's not. He's not. I think there are marginal tweaks that he can make. I think even with our failing attackers outside of Harry Kane at the moment this season, and as bad as Harry Kane has been off the ball, I think a good manager can coach a better press from our front line. I genuinely believe that. With a combination of Richarlison, Kane, Son, Kulusevski, and I don't know what's going to happen with Danjuma, whether we keep him or not, but let's just say he stays. I think a good manager can coach a better press with those profile of attackers, in absence of the fact that Harry Kane doesn't press. It's not going to be easy, but I think you can make marginal gains there, right? You can make marginal gains with some of our offensively minded fullbacks, like Destiny, like Porro. You can. You can give Basuma more of a license with the ball at his feet. You can make some of these tweaks, but these are marginal gains. To actually make wholesale changes, he's going to need better players. He's going to need better players. He's going to need stable defenders. He's going to need defenders who can consistently play higher up the pitch, can defend in isolated areas. He's going to need midfielders that aren't machine-like, that aren't robotic, that can take the ball in a half turn, right? Something that Skip can't really do. Something that Højbjerg can't really do. He's going to need agility. He's going to need all these things, as is any good manager who's worth anything. They're going to need these things, these profile players. And Spurs simply don't have that right now. They're going to need a goalkeeper who is comfortable enough to play under pressure and to find passes. Spurs don't have that. So whilst there are pieces that someone like Onslaught can work with, there are pieces, absolutely. There are pieces that someone like Onslaught can work with. Spurs need a big injection of quality into this team. And I don't mean the squad. I mean the starting 11. Start with the starting 11 first and then work your way. Start by making the team that are playing week in, week out good enough. Then you worry about the bench. Building blocks. That's what we need. That's what we need. One sec. I'm trying to find this article. I put it in the chat. Oh, where is it? Flip's sake. You know when you just like, where is it? Slot. If I type in slots. Yeah. Here we go. Yeah. So let me share my screen. And also, Slot is also going to have to deal with with Harry Kane, this situation as well. If he was to get the job, he'd have to deal with the Harry Kane situation. Obviously, the Dutch media gassed this guy up. They're gassing this guy up, and rightly so. He's the next big thing in Holland. Since Ten Hag has left anyway, he's the next big thing in Holland. So they're gassing him up. They're gassing him up to the moon. So you have to take it with a pinch. Obviously, comparisons to like Jurgen Klopp and stuff, I think it's a bit premature. But from what I've read, he looks good. He looks good, right? But then you read stuff like this, right? Feyenoord have been particularly impressive in possession, displaying a true positional and tactical understanding of the game. Watching Slot's sides feels like a lesson in football at times. Slot was an avid user of the 4-2-3-1 at RZ. This has not changed since its switch to Feyenoord. The Dutch Giants have deployed the convention system in 85% of their games this season. The similar 4-3-3 is the only other 11-man tactical structure utilized by Slot. As Feyenoord play a 4-2-3-1 for the most part, their build-up structure remains generally the same, with the double pivot staying behind the opposition's first line of pressure. The fullbacks push high while the two centre-backs split and allow the goalkeeper to practically become a third ball player in a temporary back three. Right? You're reading this, and it's problematic for Spurs. Here's the fun part. Feyenoord's build-up play is really vertical, crisp, and rapid. Unlike some Dutch coaches, Slot does not want slow build-up. The ball needs to be moved fast with risky passes, breaking the opposition's line for faster and smoother ball progression up the pitch. These are total opposites. Everything you're reading here is the total opposite to how Tottenham play. Now, whilst, as I said, there are areas in our team that Slot can use to implement remnants of his style straight away, my personal belief is someone like an Arne Slot, if he was to get the job, we won't see his full coaching capacity until or unless Spurs bring in better players. And it's the same for any manager that comes in. It was the same for Nagelsmann. It's the same for Pochettino. It's the same for Amorim. Same for whoever is the manager. They're going to need players. They're going to need good ball players, right? They're going to need good ball players. They're going to need brave players. They're going to need players who are aggressive. They're going to need guys who are mobile. They're going to need guys who can play the ball quickly. Spurs need to build. Spurs need to build naturally. And a manager like Arne Slot doesn't seem a bad appointment if I take it at face value right now. I need to learn more about him because really and truly, I don't know a lot. I've only been reading articles and watching a couple of YouTube vids. I've not watched a lot of Feyenoord games. And when I have watched clips of them, it's been in the Europa League where they're snapping teams left, right, centre. So he seems an exciting coach. He seems a coach who's on a very much an upward trajectory. But he's also managed in Holland. We don't know what he's going to be like in the Premier League. Right? But fact of the matter is Spurs need these type of coaches who are in the detail. And he seems like someone who's in the detail that actually wants to work at making his team, his players better, wants to make his plan A work well. So let's see. Let's see what happens. I'm not gonna get my hopes up. I don't really know much about Toney, but from what I'm reading, he doesn't seem a bad manager. That's where I'm at right now. Just be competent. He's not my first choice. He wasn't even my fourth choice, right? I've given my names of the managers who I would have wanted at Spurs, but it doesn't make him a bad manager. So let's see how this develops. Let's see how this develops. Everything I'm reading indicates that he's good, but it also indicates that he's a manager who this hierarchy might force to work under a shoestring budget, because that's what he's been able to do at Feyenoord. He's not had the players that Ajax and PSG have had. He's not had their budget. So what? Did they want to bring him in to do him like they did Pochettino? Really? Spurs won't go anywhere. And that won't be on Onslaught. That'll be on Levy, as is always the case. As is always the root of all these issues. Thank you for the super chat from LFC Aaron. He says, great channel, mate. Really enjoy listening to your opinions on the Big Six best football show on YouTube. I appreciate that, bro. I don't actually think Oh, the Big Six. Yeah. I would say the Big Six is the best football show. Yeah. Thank you. Smoky Settings. He's very similar to Eric Ten Hag Toes, but he's good defensively as well. Can get the 1-0 win. We had Reece Nelson on loan at Slots final. He had a good spell. Fair. Thank you for that insight, bro. Because that was the one thing I did read about, because I didn't really see everything I've read so far places a huge emphasis on attack, fast, slick build up. I didn't really read anything about his defense. So again, that speaks to the fact that I need to do my research on him. I need to check final stats this season from a defensive point of view. But from what I'm reading, he seems potentially a sensible appointment. Smoky Settings. Onslaught had Sinistero on smoke at final. Now that man can't even get a game at Leeds in front of Nonto and Harrison. I read this as well. Players have developed. Sinistero was balling out at final before he went to Leeds. I've heard of that Turkish geezer as well, Koku. Turkish was speaking about him on the Big Six a couple of weeks back. Again, I haven't watched final in great detail, so I need to do more research on these players. But one of the things I read about Slot is his ability to develop players. Yeah. They went from a very, very defensive start under Dick Advocat to attacking with a similar crop of players. So that probably speaks to some of the small marginal gains that someone like Onslaught could make straight away, even with a broken squad like ours. But it's not enough for me. I'm sick to death of wanting Spurs managers to come to this club and make it work with players that have let Spurs down for years. I've had it. I've had it with that mentality, and I've had it with the ownership. I've had enough. I've had it. Not good enough. Not good enough. And that guy, Daniel Levy, usual end of season spiel. Let's read his statement. Sorry, I'm going to end my stream here because I know obviously there's Premier League football going on. I'm going to end my stream here. Right? Let's read what our chairman has to say. Let's read. Let's read. And also as well, for those just on the Lucas Moura chat, like I didn't want to seem harsh. I didn't want to seem harsh. Like, honestly, thank you for what you did in the Champions League. Like, I'll never forget that. I was in Amsterdam that night, and that's one of the happiest nights of my life. And he delivered that. So props to Lucas Moura. He actually was a good player for us that season, and I gave him his dues. When it was time to give Moura his dues, I gave him his dues. But the fact of the matter is, his sell-by date was reached 2 seasons ago, and he's still here. And we're still making a big song and dance about him, and we're still using him. So for me, I'm not going to look at his time positively at Spurs. I'm not. Because one good season in 5 years is not enough for me to hold you in such high regard, irrespective of what you did for us in the Champions League semi-final. No. No. If it sounds harsh to people, fine. But it's just my opinion. Can't look at that with any sort of happiness. Sorry. Get some standards, please. Let's read what good old Levy has to say. Sorry, I got to get rid of these cookies, man. Get rid of them. Confirm my choices. Too many cookies. Dear supporters, this has been an immensely difficult season. We made wrong footballing decisions over seasons based on ambition and desire to bring success to our club. Did you? Where was the centre-back in the summer that we needed? And they have not delivered what we have hoped. Your frustration has been understandable, and all of us at the club have shared it. You sure? I don't think you have, mate. If you had, you wouldn't have raised the prices of club memberships. We have undertaken a thorough and rigorous review of our footballing operations. Scott Munn joins us in the summer as our new CFO. And we look forward to sharing further news with you post-season. Sure you do. Okay, let's go through more of this guy's lies. Today we need to focus on, don't care about this. Get behind Ryan Mason, shut up. I don't care about any of this. Don't care about any of this. Don't care. This was the season Harry Kane made club history, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Harry's leaving this summer, mate. Talk to us about what the plan is in the summer. Talk to us about what the plan is in the summer. Okay, let's hear. This is the bit I want to hear. Right? We shall spend the period ahead of next season working relentlessly to position our club for on-pitch success and football you will love to come and watch. Every element of the club's operations is geared towards delivering that. I wish you and all your families a good health and wonderful summer. Yours, Daniel. I don't know why he thinks this Daniel thing is doing anything for us, right? Talk is cheap. Too much lip service from this guy. He said the same BS. Said the same BS at the end of the Nuno season. Oh, we lost our way. We need to get back to our Tottenham DNA. And now he's saying, oh, we're working tirelessly to bring you and deliver you football that you want to love and watch. Bullshit. Bullshit. Talk is cheap. Actions speak louder than words. It does. It really does, Daniel. I'm not buying it. And nobody is. Nobody's buying this. Nobody is buying this. Not a single person. The club's a mess. There's no director of football. There's no manager, right? We're thinking of signing scrubby players that aren't good enough. We're seeing talks of Dyer being offered 3-year contracts with no manager signed. Sessegnon will probably get a new deal with no manager signed. Who says the manager wants these players? What kind of club operates in this manner? But yes, you're telling us that you're working relentlessly across the football operations to deliver a club that we can get behind and be proud to watch and love. BS. Talk is cheap. Actions speak louder than the words. And the actions that we have seen from Levy and Enoch this season and the last couple of years negates that. We spent well in the summer. I say we spent well. We spent a lot in the summer. We signed some good players, but ultimately it wasn't enough because the mistakes we had made in previous seasons meant that we needed more. We needed more, which is always the case. We're always chasing our losses. We're always doing damage control. And that end of season statement, that's damage control. Poorly executed damage control. Just as was the music that they were belting out at the ground in the players' lap of honor. Enoch out, man, honestly. Doesn't matter who comes in. Slot, Nagelsmann, heck, bring in Jurgen Klopp for all that matters. It doesn't matter because as long as these guys are the owners of our club, they're never going to make on-pitch success the utmost priority for this football team. Never. Never. And on that note, I'm gone. I'm done with Enoch. I was done with Spurs many, many weeks ago as far as this season's concerned. Now I'm just there just to give updates on the Big Six. Just to give my updates on the Big Six. But my season for Spurs was done a long time ago. Long time ago. So yeah, I'll keep up the videos. I'm going to put out a video this week, depending on what news comes out with the director of football. More news on Slot, news on Enrique, etc., etc. But yeah, people, smash the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you keep your post notifications turned on. And never forget, Enoch out. I'm delighted, by the way, that Spurs are 8th. Well, not delighted, but considering how bad we've been, I'm happy that we are now in a position where we can avoid Europa Conference League football. And I need Aston Villa. I need you to see it home next week, right? Brentford, if you can even win your last game, please. Who do you have? Man City? Man City have won the league. Go on holiday. Brentford, win your last game. Anything to see Spurs finish outside of 7th, great. Because it looks like Europa League football probably won't happen. So I don't want Conference League. And that's me. Over and out. Peace, people. Smash the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Enoch out. Take care. And have a good Sunday.